Hey, welcome to Cooking with Two Fat Cooks. This week we're going to make one of my favorite summer salads, which is a green bean balsamic salad. I love green beans, I love balsamic dressing, and they are coming in like crazy at the market right now. So that's what we're going to start with. I'm going to give the beans to Eric to wash while I get the water started. Getting the water to boil is the longest part of the recipe. So we're going to go ahead and put that on. I'm going to
What are you doing?
I'm watching you wash the beans.
Well, that's weird. The whole thing is...
They're pretty. I like the purple ones. Alright, so while those drain, I'm going to throw a big pinch of salt, a couple big pinches of salt in the water while we wait for it to boil. And then I'm going to put the lid on to help bring it to boil a little bit faster, because again, that's the longest part of the whole recipe. Put these out of the way so I can snap my beans.
And it's a 3-quart pot-ish,
Yes.
about 2/3 of the way full, and probably about a tablespoon of salt?
Yeah, a teaspoon.
Teaspoon?
Yeah, a couple of big pinches.
Got
I
it.
need to figure out how much a pinch weighs one of these days. That's going to be a good experiment. We should try that.
It's 1/16.
I want to weigh them, do a pinch.
Oh,
'Cause I do 2 pinches. I have a little pinch and I have a big pinch,
Um,
depending on what you're doing.
I think I saw Julia Child say one time that a pinch is supposed to be your index finger and your little finger and your thumb. So
Yes,
3 fingers is
that's
a
what I
pinch,
do.
and then half a pinch and then is just your index finger and your thumb.
See, I have a big pinch, which is 3 fingers and the thumb. So, my regular pinch of kosher salt weighs less than a gram because it's
You're
not
never
showing
going
up.
to find that. Yeah, I was going to say that's
Wait a
not.
minute, your scale is more sensitive. Let's see if it's sensitive enough.
I'm confused. Why are you weighing the salt anyway?
I want to know. Where's your scientific bent?
I thought we were supposed to be making salad.
I'm waiting for the water to boil.
Oh,
All right. Regular pinch. Nope.
still not going to show up. Yeah, it's a 1/16. There's a reason you don't weigh stuff like that, because it's annoying.
I just wanted to know, Mr. Grossi man.
I'm telling you, it's annoying. That's what you know. That's the answer.
Is that the answer?
Yes.
I don't think that's really the answer.
Answer is.
All right. Give me my beans back.
See?
Miscreant. It's thunder.
Should be able to snap those, I think.
I think that's
Give it
what
a
I'm
shot,
going to
but
do,
yeah.
exactly. All right. Promptly through the end in the...
Did you put it in the wrong bowl?
I did.
Yeah.
All right, there's my compost bowl. You can snap the blossom end off of your bean if you want to. I never bother because it's just the pointy end of the bean.
No one knows what that means. Show it.
I did. The
Yeah, okay.
pointy end of the bean.
I'm just
Pointy end.
It's that whole thing about pickles. No one understands
It's
that.
the blossom end. It's the pointy bit. Everybody understands
Pointy
the pointy
bit,
end.
pointy bit.
Pointy bit. All right, the pointy
Being
bit.
careful.
Man, our science cred's just going right out the door. The
Well, I
pointy
can
bit.
be obnoxious and obscure, but I'm going to have a much bigger format for cooking.
Oh, I see. My channel not big enough for you.
Well, I think when you get to that level of being useless, you have to be national, you know?
All right. So we've got, this is for a pound of beans. And that way, if you have a big family, a lot of company coming, and you need more, you just, for every pound of beans, add this recipe. So you can double it quite easily, triple it, etc., etc. It's a great recipe if you have a family meal coming up and you want to take something, you put it together the day before, And then right before you head out the door, you throw the feta in, and boom, you have a really nice homemade dish. Not a lot of allergens to worry about. It's cold, doesn't have mayonnaise or things people worry about getting room temperature in. It's really perfect to take to potlucks and things. Mine never gets out of the house because I like it too much. I don't share.
The only thing I would say about scaling it up is in a little bit, spoilers, we're going to use an ice bath. If you were doing a very large batch, I'd say more than maybe about 2 pounds, you probably want to do your blanching and ice bathing in batches, because too much volume and it's just going to either be difficult, you're not going to get any good out of it.
Or how big a bowl you've got.
Yeah, that's true. If you had a big enough bowl, I guess you could.
Most people don't have huge bowls.
If you're working with that type saucepan, which is probably most people's big saucepan, I would recommend doing probably no more than about 1.5 pounds.
You could probably do a 2 pound batch in this.
But I definitely wouldn't do anything more than 2 pounds at a
definitely.
go. And again, you're going to be fighting the ice bath if you've got too much going into it.
For sure. Because you want them to cool quickly, because you're blanching them so that you're not cooking them.
And the ice bath is to stop the cooking, so you want it to work fairly rapidly.
All right. They snap nice and quick.
Mm-hmm.
I just threw an end in there. Where'd you go?
Yeah, I'll eat it.
I'll find it when I cut them. All right. It's a bonus. The not queen bean, the jester bean. Right. I like the purples in there for a little splash of color. I pulled off the pointy end.
Oh, you can leave the pointy end on. I'm just saying, don't
No,
just save the
I pulled it off on
by
accident. I didn't mean to. Fine. One jester bean per batch, apparently. All right, I'm gonna give this to Eric, and he's gonna make the ice bath for me.
What?
While I cut up the beans. He's so nice.
Seems wrong.
All right, I have to beat him occasionally. Pull you some nice ones out to pickle. We have a little bit more than 1 pound here, so Eric's gonna pickle some of these. Check that video out when you get done making the salad. It's using the leftover brine from last week's cucumber pickle recipe. Super efficient.
I thought I had the pickling ones.
Oh, you do? I thought I didn't realize I'd already taken them out. Never.
Are you okay? Because you seem like you might be feverish or something.
I don't know. Does feverish get me out of work the rest of the week?
Hasn't worked for me yet.
All right, it was worth a shot. All right, I'm going to cut these up into about 1-inch pieces. You can leave them in whatever length you like. I don't like them to be huge when I'm eating them. And I like a neat, easy salad to eat.
The ice bath is about as close to half and half as you can get it. Half ice, half water. Let it sit for a little bit, because you need to get some of the temperature from the ice into the water. But you want it more ice than you probably would expect, just because again you want to stop that cooking process fairly rapidly.
A squeaky cutting board. All right. Oh, there's my end. Haha. Sorry. Now you don't get to be queen of the May.
Oh, wait.
I don't have a convertible anyway. I think if you're queen of the May, you gotta ride in a convertible.
I think that's Queen of the Prom.
Oh, well, okay, then you can be queen of the May.
Queen of the May involves being kidnapped by the Fae, doesn't it?
Oh,
I don't know what Queen of the May is, honestly.
I don't know. It's what you get if you get the queen bean. You get to be Queen of the May. Everybody knows this.
If you're a female, maybe. If you're a guy, I think you get to be king for a year and then you get sacrificed.
Oh, well.
It's a completely different bean situation.
I guess
for
so.
us,
I think I'd stick with being female for this one, honestly. Although, I mean, that's fair. Females get sacrificed all the time. Hello, volcanoes.
Yeah.
It's good to equal opportunity sacrificing.
As long as the sun comes up.
Oh, look at that one's pre-cut. Boom.
And you could snap those too at that point.
Oh, you definitely could.
Yeah.
You definitely could. I do find it a little more efficient to do it in piles because also I'm not very picky. You notice I didn't really line them up all that carefully. It's a salad. It should be little variation in size in a salad is actually I think a little more interesting than everything being uniform. It's not like you're baking them.
Yeah.
All right, and we have 2 bowls today because I am a terribly picky eater and I don't like anything. And this recipe calls for onions and tomatoes, neither of which do I care for uncooked. So I'm going to make my salad without those things, and I'm going to make Eric's salad with those things. Check the water.
Nope.
It's getting there.
Yep.
We got some little bubbles. I have to be patient. Well, while I'm waiting, I'm going to go ahead and cut the onion up.
And it will need to be a rolling boil. So ideally, you can just leave the lid on until it comes up to a good rolling boil and then start the blanching process. Again, you want the water hot because you're not going to blanch very long.
All right, so while we're doing this, we're going to talk about cutting onions. I hate cutting onions because they make me cry. I'm a sensitive girl. And so I have developed a few tricks to help me cry as little as possible. One, you want a nice sharp knife because what makes you cry is the gases in the sulfurs in the onions, and when you cut them, it springs them out into the air and they land in your eyes and it makes you cry. So, sharp knife and smooth slicing motions of cutting help reduce that, which helps reduce the crying. I'm going to cut it not this way, what would you call that? Top to toe. I'm sure there's a name for it. I cut my onion that way. I leave my onion root on. Gives me something to hold on to. Peel my onion. We're using a red onion because Eric likes red onions and it looks really pretty in the salad. If you prefer a white onion or a yellow onion, use the white onion or a yellow onion. Eat what you like. I don't know why I put my bowl away. I'm going to need it some more.
You could use a sweet onion if that's your bent, as well as a onion.
I'm going to chop my little end off there. Now, do you want yours coarse or fine or medium?
Medium, I guess. It'll make it easier to see.
All right, so we're going to do a medium cut. So the onion is already cut this way. We don't have to do that weird little thing they like to do on cooking shows this way. The onion's already doing it. That's why I cut it top to toe. So we're going to do some medium-sized slices. If you wanted bigger, coarser pieces of onion, just go further apart. And then some medium slices this way, and then when they come off my knife, we have nice little pieces. Boom. Super easy. It's quick, and it's painless. We have all these nice little pieces of onion. This recipe calls for 1/4 of a large onion, which is such a nebulous amount. I say go with ball sizes. Almost everybody knows what ball size is. This is about a softball size onion. That would be a large onion. Baseball size onion would be about a medium onion.
Probably all told, looking at about, I'd say, 1/4 cup, 1/3 cup.
Yes, yeah.
And again, if you like onion a lot, now the little heel end that's left there, set that off to the side. When you get done with everything else, you're cleaning up. Wash the root end off good, throw that in a bag, toss it into your freezer with your other vegetable ends, and it's a great start for stocks and such that you're gonna basically cook and then filter through anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna discard it, so this is perfectly ready to go. Since I have this onion already started, I'm going to do a dice. I'm gonna get a little carried away there on the end apparently, because I'm going closer together. Onions freeze beautifully for anything you're going to cook them with. You're not throwing it fresh on a salad. If you have a little bit of onion left over from a recipe, instead of throwing it in the refrigerator to get lost and then found later when it's fuzzy and thrown away, go ahead and cut it up. Cut it up coarse if you don't know what you want it for. I know what I want this for. I'm going to use this for some macaroni and cheese, and I like a really fine dice for my macaroni and cheese. You notice I'm slicing? That helps reduce, again, the gases coming off the onion, which makes you cry. It takes a little bit longer than a quick chop. It also hurts a lot less than a quick chop, and quite frankly, we're not in a hurry. This isn't a contest. So I have a nice fine dice. I'm gonna put it in a container. I'm going to label it, and I'm gonna throw it in the freezer. Anytime I need diced onion, I'm just gonna pull this out and grab out what I need. Oh, we got a boil, yay!
You can also, if you have the room, lay a piece of parchment or something on a cookie sheet. Lay the vegetable out in a...
Hold on a second, I'm gonna interrupt you. We're boiling, and I'm going to put my beans in, and I'm going to stir them with a spatula that you're gonna give me, because I forgot to grab a spoon.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I'm gonna pour these over my spatula so they don't splash boiling water on me. Handy little trick. All right, let's get those stirred. Back up to a boil. I have my timer set for 4 minutes, and when that comes back up to a boil, I'm going to hit start. That's as long as we're going to blanch them. If you like your beans doner, feel free to cook them longer. The original recipe called for 8 minutes. I like to really let the bean flavor shine through, and for me that means less cooked. All right, go back to what you were talking about.
Oh, just if you have a space in your freezer to do it, you can also lay the veg out on a cookie sheet on like a piece of parchment paper. Freeze it. It makes it a little easier to, if you freeze it like that and then put it in a container, you can kind of pull out what you want a little easier. Sometimes chop like that, put straight in the freezer, it's going to clump together a little bit.
Yes.
If you can pull it off, great. If you can't, it's not like the end of the universe.
And we're actually going to discuss that in a week or two with berries, since it's such berry season right now. It's also a great thing to do with berries. They freeze beautifully too. All right, so I'm also going to chop up Eric's tomato for the salad. The tomato will go in with the beans or the feta? Oh, actually wash this for me. Eric's going to wash the tomato.
Yeah. I prefer it in at the beginning of the recipe so that it's got some time to dewater and flavor the salad dressing.
Excellent, then I don't have to dirty another bowl.
Yeah, you can put it in at the very end. It just depends on what you're interested in. The only thing I would recommend is with this one. The original is for I think cherry tomatoes.
Yes.
We're using this one today because it's a fleshy variety. There's not a lot of seed in it. And so that's going to keep it from watering your salad down too much.
There's not a whole lot of core going on here. Again, like Eric said, it's a nice fleshy tomato. So I'm just going to ease that little bit out. And that took the whole core right there. Lovely tomatoes. This is peak tomato season, y'all. Be using tomatoes in everything if you like them. All right, so I'm gonna cut them into cubes, if you will, to kind of mimic the cut cherry tomato size. It's a pretty tomato. Mm-hmm. You want them smaller?
No, that's perfect.
Excellent. Oh, the brownies are done. Eric's gonna take the brownies out of the oven while I finish cutting the tomatoes. All right, that's all we need cutting boards for.
I'm gonna leave this oven lit for later.
of that thunder.
It's getting ready to come on. All right. I got that. Go finish.
All right. Like I said, the water boiling, longest part of the whole recipe. All right, there we go. I'm gonna start my timer. You do not have to have a lid on. I just put the lid on to speed things up a little bit.
Up to boil a little better.
That was my plan.
Otherwise, it's going to cook a little too fast.
Exactly. We just used the lid to speed up the initial boil. If you don't have a lid, it's no big deal. Just put us on pause until it hits the boil, and then hit play again and join us where we are. We'll wait for you, don't worry.
I'm going to hand you this.
Oh, beautiful. Got my ice bath. That's gorgeous. Oh, I think I'm done with this. I think.
Actually, I'll need it.
Oh, I'm gonna give it to you then. All right. While they are boiling, I'm going to start making the balsamic vinaigrette. I'm gonna make it in my bowl, because again, save a bowl.
Saveable?
Save a bowl.
Save a bowl.
Save a bowl.
Oh.
And that way, oh, I have to get a measuring cup. That way I get all the good balsamic and I get Eric the sad leftover balsamic for his salad.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right? Completely makes sense. I'm gonna put the I'm gonna put the wet ingredients in first. So, wet ingredients, we are going to go 2 tablespoons of olive oil. This is one of the cases where you do want to use a good olive oil because you're eating it fresh. So we've got some locally sourced. Well, cooking with olive oil is silly. You cook off all the volatiles and you don't get all the yummy flavor.
No, it's just, I love the concept of good something like there's a bad one you want to use in some certain. No, I understand what you're saying.
Fancy, more expensive olive oil. I didn't mean to insult all the olive oils out there. All olive oils are good olive oils. Your fancy Martha Stewart olive oil is the one you want to use for a salad or something you're eating cold, dipping your bread in, etc. All right, so now we're going to do 2 tablespoons of balsamic. I tend to measure a little on the heavy side because I really like balsamic, which is why I buy the giant one at the
Big box.
big box. All right.
Do you have your spatula?
Yes. Are you stealing my spatula? Aw, thanks. Helps to have somebody to cook with, if you can whip them into shape.
It's a lot better to do it by your darn self.
Yeah, they can always hit pause on us, right? 2 tablespoons of lemon juice adds a really, really yummy flavor to the whole thing. Plays well with the balsamic, which is weird. I wouldn't have thought it, but it does. Lost my towel. I'm a little bit olive oily. I cannot have an oil bottle without a little bit of oil on the outside of it. All right, so now we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. If you don't have kosher salt,
What hit the floor?
the ring is opened on the spoon thing.
My goodness.
So kosher salt, if you don't have kosher salt, you can use table salt. You'll want to use 3/4 teaspoon because table salt is, no, I'm going the wrong way. You'll want to use 1/4 teaspoon because table salt is smaller and saltier.
Huh?
I think that's right. I'll look it up and I'll put it on the bottom.
What's your measurement?
A 1/2 teaspoon.
And it's supposed to be kosher?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to do 1/8 teaspoon of ground pepper, which I just dropped on the floor. Let me get another set of measuring spoons. Luckily, we have many in this house. Oh, that's the beans. All right, so I'm going to stop doing the dry ingredients. I'm going to turn off the water, and I'm going to get my beans out of the water. If you don't have a spider, no big deal. Slotted spoon, tongs if you're really patient. I'm going to drop them in the ice bath. They're very pretty. Nice and bright. I like a blanched bean. They really retain the bean flavor better, I think.
Also brings the color up, which
really
is odd
does.
because if you cook them too long, they turn that uniform brown that my family likes so much. But
It's all about moderation. It's a little about moderation. Okay, so 1/8 teaspoon of white pepper in our case because, again, I'm super picky and I don't like black pepper. Big pepper has convinced everybody to eat the whole of the pepper. I don't like the whole of the pepper. You can't get me that way, big pepper.
all about you.
Obviously. Eric will add some black pepper to his later when I'm not looking.
Yeah, white pepper is just as good.
Has good flavor. All right, so mustard, 1/4 teaspoon of ground mustard. Again, all of the ingredients are listed in the little description box so that you don't have to try to remember this, or if I say it wrong, it's right there for you. You can just copy it and paste it into your favorite program to put recipes in. Garlic powder. We're gonna put in 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. If you don't have garlic powder, you can use garlic salt, but reduce your salt by half if you do. I have the notes and the measurements in the ingredients if you need it. And can you throw me a whisk because I forgot to get a whisk?
Yes.
This is how I cook. I forget things.
Walking is part of
Smaller.
Oh, for the love of Pete. I'll let you come get your own list.
You want the smaller whisk? Thank you. I don't have giant man hands.
Related note as far as the measurements. With the white pepper, if you are converting from another recipe, kind of like the salt, because the white pepper is basically just pepper that's missing that outside hull, it is a little bit more volume of pepper-ish pepper. I don't know how that works. But if you had
It's
like
spicier.
1 teaspoon, you'd probably want to start with 1 teaspoon of black pepper. You probably want to start with about 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper, taste it and see what you think, and then work it from there. I definitely would not do them comparably.
Oh no, you definitely want less white pepper than black pepper for any recipe.
I'm just not sure what the
For
proper
sure.
syntax is, but yeah, there's probably a conversion online somewhere that'll tell you how to break it down, but don't make that mistake.
Yes, it is spicier, weirdly enough.
It's because the hull's missing.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so. It's kind of like the kosher salt and regular salt.
Sort
It's
of.
smaller and
Yeah.
more intense. Okay, so we have our beans and, oh, they're beautiful. They're nice and cold. And Eric's going to drain them in the colander for me.
Sure. Pick out the ice cubes. Hopefully you still have ice cubes. That means the water was very cold.
Yes, you should have ice cubes. I should have said that. Ice cubes will melt until the water is correct, and then they will sit there. And so, yeah, that's how you know that you got it nice and cold in your water.
You make your ice bath and you look down, you've got a bowl of water, you need more ice in your ice bath.
Exactly.
It has not hit temperature yet.
But our ice lasted past the beans, so we had the right ratio of ice to the beans that we had. I hear an ice cube. I'll find it.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere.
I'm going to use my fingers to put it in the bowl anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, again, we started off with about half and half ice to water, so hopefully that's good.
Perfect. Thank you, sweetie. All right, so I'm going to whisk. So I can give you some of the vinaigrette. Based on my measurements, you get about 3 tablespoons since we're dividing
Well,
for your stuff. Stuff for you. The beans I'm just going to do visually. I didn't like
Did you
that
want
bean.
that one?
I didn't like the way it was looking at me.
uh-huh.
Oh, there you go. Taste test it. How is it?
That's about perfect.
Excellent.
May actually be a little softer than you might like.
Yeah, I'll be all right.
Oh, I ain't worried about it.
Because then he'll eat my salad when I'm not looking.
Yeah.
Don't let him fool you.
I wasn't trying to fool anybody.
All right, well, good job on not fooling.
Mm-hmm.
I found the ice cubes. 2, might I
Oh, man.
add.
I'm falling apart.
There goes your raise.
Wait, I get paid?
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
You're not getting a raise.
All right. Well, I
That's
guess that's sort of fair enough.
right. All right, so we're going to toss these guys. We want to get the vinaigrette all good and yummy on there. Look how pretty that is. It's shiny. We'll toss Eric's, which is much prettier than mine, I have to admit, with all the colors going on. He has a pretty salad. And he actually has a lot more tomatoes and onions because he only got half the beans, so, but he likes it that way.
Yeah, this recipe is very much just kind of what you've got on hand and what you feel like fooling with.
It'd be gorgeous with cauliflower. It'd be good with broccoli.
You could easily replace the feta with another cheese, cube it up a little bit. You could leave it out and just do straight green beans.
You definitely could. I like the cheese in it. It's it sounded a little odd to me the first time I read the recipe, but then once I ate it, I was like, yes, this is very good. This goes in right before you eat. So you're just gonna weigh your feta in and stir it, and that finishes off your salad. So again, if you're making it in advance, I recommend making it in advance. We'll be eating this tomorrow because it really is better if it sits in the vinaigrette. An hour or two will be enough if you're in a hurry and you forgot to make it, but if you're making it for an event or a meal, hold off putting the feta in until you're ready to serve.
And make sure when you do that step, you're gonna wanna take it out, toss the salad a little bit, then add the feta, and then toss it again. And if you want to top it, you can then top it with a little bit. But toss the dressing because it will separate slightly. So you want to get the oil and the vinegar mixed back in good.
Absolutely.
And then mix the in a go. What's the measurement for the feta?
2 ounces.
So we'd be splitting an ounce each between the two.
Exactly,
All right.
exactly. So we will be doing that. And if I get a time tomorrow before we get this edited and on, I will throw a little addendum on like I did last week and show the feta going in. Otherwise, you're on your own, but I think you can figure it out. I have faith in you.
Any idea about what that is for folks that don't have a scale?
I do not.
We should add that.
We
at
will
some point in the
we'll
video.
measure that and put it in the comments with a
Yeah.
measurement for you folks who do not have a scale. That's a really great point. So I'll add that to the ingredient list. I have grams on there, but I didn't think about measuring it.
Probably should just do that because not everybody's got 14 kitchen scales laying around.
I will do that. So definitely check the description because it's gonna catch anything that I forgot, and we'll have the ingredients and the conversions, and we hope you'll make this and that you enjoy.
Right, lids and everything.
Lids and everything. All right, well, it's been about 20 hours or so, and we are going to have our bean salad for lunch. So we're gonna add our feta. I'm going to take a measurement of the feta for those of you who don't have a scale. So I'm going to get my 2 ounces of feta. Now I'm just using store-bought feta because this is just a everyday meal for us in the summertime. If you are making this for company and wanting to be a little fancy, get a better feta, something local, something still in the brine. Make yourself happy, but for this purpose, store-bought works perfectly good. You're getting the salt, you're getting the tang, which is the intent of this recipe. I put too much in. Don't use your fingers to put your cheese back in. Touching cheese is what accelerates little fuzzy growth. All right, I'm gonna leave that 1/8 of an ounce in there because it looks like, all right, 2 ounces of feta is coming in at about 1/3 of a cup. So if you don't have a scale, 1/3 of a cup for the 2 ounce measurement will do you beautifully. So now I'm going to put that into the salads we made yesterday. Oh no, those look pretty. I'm gonna put it in before I toss it because obviously once I put it in, I'm going to want to toss it. I'm going to split this between us. Excellent. And then I'm gonna give that a good stir. Get my brine back up. Now, even though we've added the feta at the last minute, if there's any left over, it will sit in the refrigerator and the feta will just kind of break down and make the vinaigrette a little creamy, which, I mean, is there anything wrong with that? Of course not. So there is no problem putting leftovers up. This salad doesn't last very long in our house, especially in the summer. It's very cold and refreshing. It's a great addition to any meal. It's a great main meal. Have this with a chunk of good solid homemade bread and you've got a really good summer meal there with very little effort on your part. All right, look how pretty that is. Okay, there we are. Green bean balsamic salad with feta. I hope you enjoy.